So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome John Cantor to the stage.
This is me in a rescue helicopter on the 4th day of what was meant to be a 2-month expedition. I'd no one to blame but myself, and I really hated myself for it. But not just that year, both of the years following as well. I failed 3 times with my dream of traversing the Brooks Range solo. But it were these low points that I clung onto when I needed motivation, because what better motivation could you have than wanting to avoid the toughest points of your life? Is that most people associate the word failure in only a negative sense. But what I learned is that failure is a really beautiful thing as long as it's followed by success. I truly believe that my success was born lying in that helicopter. And the expedition entails 1,000 kilometres of hiking and 600 kilometres of paddling a kayak. But with the Brooks Range traverse, the start point is the furthest point from safety in the entire trip. You were dropped off literally hundreds of kilometres from the nearest road, house, habituation, anything. There is no easing your way into this expedition.
Yeah! Hey, bear! Yeah! Look at him run.
You're faced with that horrible predicament of, do you put your head outside the tent and see what's there, or do you stay inside and just pretend it's the wind or something else? And I generally play the children's game that if I can't see it, it doesn't exist, and I just stay in there. 24-year-old American guy who went into the Alaskan wilderness to live off the land alone, and 4 months later he was dead. And as soon as I finished reading that book, I thought, fantastic, that's for me. And I dropped out of university and planned on going to Alaska. But at that point in my life, I'd never used a map and compass. I'd never camped in the wilderness. I knew nothing about hunting, and I'd never been by myself for more than a day or two. So how was I able to commit to this project? I bet you all think I'm going to stand here and say, if you believe in yourself, you can achieve anything. But what I learned is that's not true.
My new brand is called Skill.
For a large part of my life, I was like the ice dude. I had so much confidence and so much self-belief. And the problem wasn't with my self-belief, is that I wasn't backing it up with hard work. Self-belief will only get you to the start line. If you want to get to the finish line, you need well-directed hard work and determination. And after that, I stepped away from Alaska with no immediate plans to return. Collectively, I'd lasted 8 days, over 3 attempts at what was meant to be a 2-month expedition. I sat down and I said to myself, I can't traverse the Brooks Range. What do I have to do to be able to do it? I stopped believing that I would, and I started believing that I could. I hadn't earned the right to cross the Brooks Range because I hadn't worked hard enough. I think if you have a goal that you really want to achieve, there should be 2 questions you ask yourself every single day. Number 1, what am I doing to earn the right to achieve this goal? And number 2, could I be doing more? For the first 3 attempts, I used a tiny little 5-gram tube of toothpaste. It's pretty tiny, right? For the 4th attempt, that was too heavy. I found out about Dr. Bronner's magic soap. Only 2 drops of that on your toothpaste and you're right to brush your teeth. It tastes like arse, but it saved me about 4.5 grams. But it was all about changing my mindset. I went into it that everything had to be perfect and everything was important. It was the only way I was going to succeed if I went way beyond where I thought I needed to be to succeed. When things are going wrong, that is when you're going to learn what sort of person you are. My dad's a psychiatrist, and for his medico-legal work, he assesses risk on a daily basis. And for attempt number 4, he gave me a 5% chance of success and a 10% chance of dying. The birthday present I was given was Achilles tendonitis. From the end of day 5 on, every step was like a knife in my heels. It was absolute agony. One of the mantras I said to myself over and over was, you've already suffered so much. Why not suffer a little bit more and make it all worthwhile? And I compared the physical suffering I was going through with this injury, which was horrific, to the 6 years of my life that I put into this goal. And then it didn't seem like a big deal. You can't just decide you're going to achieve something great and want it more than anything. You have to earn that desire through hard work.
I've just come up through this gorge and I've had to climb up this slope. And I'm really not comfortable with the position I'm in. The rock's really loose and it's just pulling out. I think that's where I have to go. But look around. You can see how easy it is to get lost. This is very intimidating. Really, really dangerous terrain. Very nearly died. And now I've added about 10 miles onto my journey when I'm already tired and sore from yesterday. Today has been a really hard day, the sort of day that can end the expedition. But I'm just trying to tell myself that if I can pull through today, then hopefully I can meet any other challenges during the expedition.
But I was in a really positive mood. I'd just gotten through the most difficult day of my entire life. And if I could get through a day like that, I could possibly get through almost anything the expedition could throw at me. From Cantor Pass on, I never slept more than 4 hours a night because the pain in my Achilles would wake me up. I was really stressing about how much weight I was losing. My waist belt and my pack didn't tighten anymore. So, as mentioned, I've got a massive man crush on Bear Grylls. So I channeled my inner Bear Grylls and I started eating all the mosquitoes that were flying into my mouth. On the fourth day hiking from the village, I hiked for 19 hours and 10 minutes with only one 5-minute break, and I hiked faster than I had all trip, but I made it to the river, which finished the 1,000 kilometers hiking, and I just had an easy 600 kilometer paddle in front of me. Even after this 19-hour day hiking, I still only managed 4 hours sleep, but I had a lot of energy. I was so excited to be on the river. So I paddled for 24 hours on that first day, and a huge headwind started up. And this one was worse than before, to the point where I would drag my kayak along the side of the river at times. And it was pointless. I was either stumbling on rocks or having my boots stuck in mud. But I was becoming so desperate because I just could not overcome this external factor. And by this point, I only slept 2 hours in the past couple of days. I only had 2 days worth of food left with me. I was so close to the end of my goal, but I was just being told I might not actually make it there. I said to myself, you're going to paddle for 1,013 strokes, every single stroke as hard as you can. And when you get to that number, you can take a break. So I counted them out, 1,013, as hard as I possibly could. But then when I got to that number, I started screaming at myself that the wind was going to start up at any second. So I said, okay, paddle to that point in the distance, and then you can take a break. So I paddled to that point as hard as I could, every single stroke. But then when I got there, I started screaming at myself that the wind was going to start up at any second. So I said, okay, just 1,013 strokes, and then you can take a break. And every time I convinced myself that next time I was going to allow myself to take a break. But I never did. Andrew Skirker, who's the best long-distance hiker in the world, it took him 41 days to traverse the range. Everyone else, it took over 2 months. And it took me 31 and a half days, including the 3 days I was stuck waiting for food. They're so afraid of failure that they don't want to try something until they know they're going to succeed. But how can you know what you're capable of until you fail? And even then, failure is not the end. It's just another opportunity to set out and achieve your goal again. I was fortunate enough to be on stage in Sydney with the Dalai Lama yesterday. And I was one of the lucky few that was asked to come and ask him a question. And so I sat on a couch, and the Dalai Lama, he held my hand and looked at me straight in the eyes with the most powerful gaze you can imagine. And I said, I always feel the need for bigger and better things. How can you maintain your determination to achieve your goals in the future while at the same time feeling at peace with what you've done in the past? And his answer was long and beautiful. I'm not going to try and recreate what he said because I'm not the Dalai Lama, but essentially he said, through having a combination of a very strong heart and very strong determination. And what I took from that is it's okay to have this drive and this determination to always be achieving more and more, as long as you're doing it for the right reasons. You have to know in your heart that your goals are going to serve you well and you're being true to yourself.
Please thank John Cantor.